Hello and welcome to the 46th episode of the Accountant Success Secrets podcast. I'm Philippa Haynes of Insight 101.
And I'm Mark Lee of Bookmark Lee.
Each week on our podcast, we showcase successful accountants who have been running their own practice for a good few years and who we think can inspire and encourage other accountants and actually bookkeepers too in practice around the UK.
Absolutely. We ask them to share their stories, including the highs, the lows, and what they've learned along the way. Our aim is to provide some fundamental insights for you, our loyal listener. You know who you are. And if you'd like to share your story in a similar way, do please get in touch with Philippa or me. We're now taking bookings for mid to late April. Goodness.
I know, it's amazing. I just love it. So this podcast is sponsored by Pinnacle, a trusted outsourcing partner with well over 120 clients across the UK and Ireland. Pinnacle's CEO, Mayank Pandya, is a chartered accountant based in London, and he has a passion to encourage innovation and excellence in the accounting profession. Pinnacle has offices in the UK and offshore delivery centres across India too, employing over 250 high-quality staff. With a strong focus on quality assurance, Pinnacle has helped many UK accounting firms to scale their capacity and operations. So to find out more about them, visit www.pinnacleoss.co.uk. You'll also find the link online wherever you're listening to this podcast.
Also supporting the podcast is the Tax Advice Network, whose website enables accountants to choose specific specialist tax advisors for general support or for help across any of over 100 areas of tax. It's free to use, and you can check it out at findataxadvisor.online, where you can also access and receive their weekly tax tips for general practitioner accountants.
Right, so let's get started, shall we? Today we are really delighted to introduce Leanda Daddow, who started her working career in the Royal Navy and later founded Celtic Bookkeeping in Cornwall in 2010. She and her co-director and staff work largely remotely, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot about that. And they build their working life around their family responsibilities. The firm specialises in construction businesses and other businesses that want to grow and speak with their bookkeepers as often as they can. And we'll hear more about that. It's really fascinating. Leanda also coaches other bookkeepers in running their businesses successfully. In 2024, Celtic Bookkeeping was shortlisted as finalists in the Zero Bookkeeping Partner of the Year, and intriguingly, for a team of only 6, now soon to be 5, they were also finalists in the Large Practice of the Year category in the ICB Looker Awards last year. And most importantly, Leanda has just taken receipt of their, I don't know whether you call it a lorry or whatever, that they'll be travelling around the world in the next few years. Welcome, Leanda.
Is there anything else you'd like to add by way of introduction?
No, that's a good one. Yeah, it definitely is a lorry. It actually began life as a small fire engine, but that's actually going to be our new home. So we will be living in that permanently when it is completed in about 6 months' time, as well as running the business from wherever I am in the world.
Jesus.
Lovely. And I believe you're somewhere in Cornwall at the moment at a sports hall or something like that, leisure centre, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, I homeschool my 2 children because obviously going to school 9 to 3 doesn't quite work when you're travelling around. So we homeschool them. So when we're in Cornwall, they have a structure that on a Wednesday they do sports club and then they go to a friends group on a Wednesday afternoon. So I spend my Wednesdays sat here quite frequently with a coffee doing some work.
Right. So we're going to find out more about this. We've got 30 minutes or so, and we focus on a few key questions. And I know Mark is desperate to sort of kick off, so let's get going.
So fascinating though your background pre-bookkeeping and accountancy is, if you can discuss that or explain that briefly, but then get into how and why did you come to set up your own bookkeeping practice?
Yeah, so I was kind of brought up in an area that I kind of describe as shameless meets train spotting. It was quite a rough area. So I got my mum to sign a form saying I was going on a school trip when I was 15. In actual fact, it was to allow me to join the Navy in the January when I was 16. And I turned in the December, I turned 16. So at 16, mum put me on a bus in the middle of Glasgow. full of Royal Marines. And yeah, I was a little 16-year-old that wouldn't say boo to a ghost, got on this bus and drove all the way down to Plymouth. So it's quite funny that now I live in Cornwall, obviously just across the border. So I joined the Navy, did 7 years in there, where I then met my now husband. We've been together 20 years. We were going to be based at opposite ends of the country, so I left. I joined the bank, left the bank to go travelling once, ended up coming back to Cornwall for a job of my dreams, working at a solicitor's firm as a legal accounts assistant, which then I was dismissed and they were shut down not long after. I vowed never to work for anybody else. So here we are, 15 years later, having set up the firm. I've dabbled back in employment and come back out, realising it's not for me. And yeah, the future is pretty good.
That is fascinating. And if we had longer, I'm sure everybody would want to hear more about it. But if we come to, how did you come to set up your own practice?
So
and how did
my husband was a electrician. So he was an electrician. His mum was doing his books in A4 jot down notepad and then handing him into the accountant. And they were getting 31st of January submissions going in, tax bills getting told that day. So what I did was I said, well, I'll do my qualification. I can do it around working. So I did my ICB qualification so as I could help them, and the accountant then continued to do their accounts. I found another local accountant that needed some support locally, so I continued with my qualifications and then started taking on my own clients. So as a firm, we focus more on the bookkeeping. We do the year-end accounts and the compliance work, but it's more the day-to-day running of the business that we're interested in, and we use external people to support us with that. So it literally went from helping my family to more people hearing what I was doing and needed help and growing it. Going away traveling meant I could complete my studies, so we went away for 9 months. It was meant to be for 3 years and we never actually did it because we came back and built a house. So we have now sold that house and bought the truck, and so now we have no choice because the truck has wheels. We have to go traveling. But it's been very up until recently. I didn't advertise, didn't do social media, and that there was random posts went out, but nothing consistent. It's always been through word of mouth. That we've gained our clients, which has given us a positive standing to work on. So we do seem to have a steady flow of clients coming in and steady growth, but it hasn't always been that way. There have been some quite difficult times over the last 5 to 7 years.
And how have you managed that then? How have you sort of spanned those difficult times?
Well, if we flick back to 2020, prior to COVID hitting, we'd gone through a period of 2 years where we had 8 bereavements, which culminated. Started off with the loss of my brother in January 2018. And then finished with the loss of my mother-in-law in January 2020. So those 2 years were like hell on earth, to the point that I wanted to shut the business down. And at that point, my now co-director, but best friend, and was a subcontractor for me at the time, Stacey, was helping me. And I said I had enough. I was shutting the doors. We were still running the business from my garage at home. And I decided I was going to shut. And then COVID hit. And you couldn't, could you? You couldn't just ditch all your clients. So as much as I was going through a mental breakdown, basically at the time, I didn't have enough mental energy to deal with anything. I just literally had to pull my big girl pants up and get on with it and just help the clients as best as I could. COVID let us reassess everything that was going on, actually, because we were helping the clients, we were assisting them, but in actual fact there was a bit of breathing space as well as COVID, as we continued through the period. Initially it was a mad rush, and then the next bit of legislation came out, there was another mad rush, but in between we had times to reassess. We went back down to just being me and Stacey and worked out where we wanted to be and how we wanted to be. And a lot of that came down actually to finding the team over at the Six Figure Bookkeeper, working with Joe and Zoe. So I'd found them, and at that point I'd hold my hands up and say I'm a great bookkeeper, but at that point I wasn't running a business, I was running a charity, because I was basically pricing my work so low that I was paying my staff and I was putting money into the business to keep everything going, but I was trying to keep everybody happy, and it didn't work. So that also added to the financial stress as well as the emotional stress, and it all kind of accumulated. But I met the Six Figure Bookkeeper, and they were talking about they were on one of the boot camps. I'd done a couple of them, and they were talking about the program to work with them, their success program. And I said to Ben, we were going to go traveling before COVID hit after losing his mum. And I said, look, if I do this course, make or break. If I do the course and it works, great. If I do the course and it doesn't work, I'm shutting the doors. I've had enough. So I pinched the money from my child's savings account and paid for the course, because my husband's business had shut down overnight during COVID. And well, here I am in 2025, like you say, shortlisted last year for 2 awards. Within the Six Figure Bookkeeper, I actually won the award for Leader of the Year. And hopefully in 2025 we'll continue as a team to actually win some awards as well.
So tell me, I mean, I'm definitely going off piste here, but I mean, I know that you work with construction businesses. So you've obviously, from saying you're going to shut the doors, there is a certain strategy there, and you've talked about construction businesses, and you've even overlaid that with those construction businesses that you really want, and then obviously you've built a team. So how's that all worked? I mean, where's that all come from, apart from obviously the training that you've had and the course that you did? I mean, what made those decisions for you?
I brought Stacey in as co-director because she'd been there to support us through the tough times that I had, and we're best friends and we work together. We're yin and yang. I'm chaotic and bounce all over the place. Stacey's very focused and organised. And we basically went back to scratch. We got rid of all the staff that we had and went back just to being us. And then built from the scratch there. We had the client base. We reviewed all of our pricing, which was one of the first changes we did. And we lost 20% of our clients, but we doubled our turnover. And it just goes to show that the main foundation that we need to build as bookkeepers and accountants is that pricing, because it does. We hear of it all the time, that you price low to get the work in, and then unfortunately you are running around firefighting without actually moving forward. So we started back at the core and we did our pricing. We also looked at the type of service we wanted to offer. Making Tax Digital was being talked about back in 2019. We've been working to get our clients on Making Tax Digital software, etc. from back then. In actual fact, I have a banner in the office from 2019 business show which says, "We will ensure you're MTD ready for 2020." So we've been doing that, and we basically built our services around that, making sure that all of our non-VAT registered clients would then become MTD ready, picking out who we wanted to work with. So initially we would take on any construction workers that came to us, and we would build the packages around them. So smaller businesses, we'd build a package for, and then we'd move to transactional pricing. Other businesses that came to us, we would only take them on if we felt that we could work with that person and that individual and that business. Like I love being in the outdoors, so we took on quite a few outdoor businesses as well. And as we took these on, we built all of our processes and we built the team. So we realised that we needed some bookkeeping support. So we brought someone in to help with that. That person then went on to actually help us build all of our processes. And then as we brought more bookkeeping support in, what happened is this individual then became a bit of an office manager. She would do all the integration. She would set up all the templates and things, and she was an absolute whiz in helping us set that. So building those processes and things helped us, and we continue to build them. They continue to evolve now. They're not set in stone. So all of those little changes we did have actually got us to where we are now. And we went to transactional based pricing, but what we've learned over probably the last 2 years is we don't offer a discount, but sometimes we do have to tailor that pricing to the client we're working with. Like if we've got a client that we want to work with and we feel that we can benefit them and their business will benefit, and we might be a little bit out of their price range this quarter, then what we'll do is we'll discuss that with them and say, on this instance, we're going to reduce this service down a little bit so as you're receiving this, but we feel that over the next couple of years you'll grow. And that tends to be what happens, is they'll come on board, they're having a basic service, and then we're able to add on those additional service, more frequent bookkeeping, more frequent questions. Currently we have 3 clients, I think it is, that are not on software ready for Making Tax Digital.
Out of
so I hope that covered us out of 100, and 107 at the minute, and I think by the end of February we'll have 130 clients.
Yes, because I think you said you've already got almost a waiting list of clients who are keen to join you in February. And I think all of that, there are so many learnings in that and transferable experiences. But in particular, I'd pick out the fact that there's a team of 5 or 6 of you servicing only 130 clients, because these are clients that need more than just a little bit of bookkeeping here or there, or a little bit of compliance support here or there. And so they're paying you good money to be their regular bookkeepers, not in-house as much, but still doing everything and in touch with them much more frequently than bookkeepers who are only turning up once a quarter, or historically even less often than that. So I applaud that approach and think MTD will be the catalyst for that becoming more common, I suspect.
It is, and MTD has been around for many, many years. So it's not a new thing. As bookkeepers and accountants, it's something that we hopefully, and not everybody is, because not everybody's the same. There's no right or wrong. You do what's right for your practice and your team at the time. But for us, we've
Absolutely.
been planning it for a long time, and we've had a big blip along the way that in actual fact now we know what we need to be doing to get it ready. So we've got it ready, but also that then therefore means that we're there to support. So we do some subcontracting work for other bookkeepers and accountants. So we'll be there to help support them as well, because we're very much a collaboration over competition. There's enough individuals out there that need help and support now, never mind when Making Tax Digital comes in, that in actual fact we don't need to compete with each other. What we all need to do is support each other, and if there's an area that someone's stuck in, they can come and ask someone else for help. Or if there's a client that they're finding tricky that they don't have a relationship with, then find somebody else that they will do with, because that's one of the most important things. It doesn't matter whether you're a subcontractor, a contractor, a client, an employee. Relationships are what impact your business, and the relationships that you have with your clients, you want to be able to have open, honest conversations with them. If you can't be open and honest with your client, then you're not going to give them the service you need. You can't be open and honest with your staff about where your business is and what it's doing, then they're not going to realise why you're in a bad mood that day, because you might have cash flow issues or something's gone wrong with HMRC and you're trying to sort it out. So being open and honest with your staff and team actually helps you, and it helps you build a better business, because then you're all singing through the same hymn sheet as you move forward, and then with your peers as well.
Talking about a better business, I mean, lots of people have talked about this, and you as well, which is choosing the clients that you want. Can you be more precise about that and just give people who are listening kind of just your tick list? What makes them a good client for you, apart from the construction piece?
So for us, it's a client that's going to use software. If they are a very, very small client, we will use free agent.
Oh, she's gone. I'm sure she's going to come back. I think she was going to be talking about free agent then.
It did sound, that was the start of the word free agent, wasn't it?
It sounded like free agent. Yeah.
Sorry. So we can use Zero for over. I'm back. Can you hear me?
You're back. Yeah. You said free agent. That's where you stopped.
So so very small clients, we're going to use free agent. However, 90% of our client base is actually on Zero. So that's our software of choice. We've been using it since they come to the UK. We use receipt capture software, so we use that for all of our clients. And apart from one client who we visit to capture missing receipts from and paperwork, because they have a lot of paper receipts coming in, everybody else digitally uploads their receipts for them. We even have clients that have never used software in the bank, so they have to use software, and they also have to want to chat to us. They have to want to grow the business. They have to want to pay tax. They have to want to build the business to be what they want and achieve a dream. So we ask the client, what is your dream? What do you want to achieve? If it's school runs, if it's only working a 3-day week, if it's saving to pay off the mortgage early, or it's just being able to pay for a holiday once a year, whatever that is, then we put that into their initial proposal, so that when they read it, they see it, and it helps them reflect back on the investment they're making in their business when they come to us. So our minimum fee tends to be around £300 a month for bookkeeping services. And that allows us to be able to go into our clients every single week, sometimes every single day, depending on the volume of transactions. They get missing lists regularly. The staff will pick up the telephone and have a conversation with them. We spot things in advance, so we can contact the clients and have conversations if we see something that's going to come up. So being able to have that conversation with them, and then want to communicate. If we have a client that doesn't answer a WhatsApp or doesn't answer an email, and we're consistently chasing, they're not the client for us, because in actual fact, then the trust isn't there, the relationship, the respect isn't there, and they're the clients that we look to disengage.
I think that is glorious, and I think that recognition that you deserve respect for what you do, rather than being treated badly, as so many bookkeepers and indeed other accountants are treated, and allow their clients to treat them that way. It makes a huge difference between those who are able to build successful businesses and those who just plod along, coping and taking the next low fee paying, low quality client that comes along. And I think that's also a testament to the success that you've achieved with Celtic as well, Leanda. I genuinely applaud you. What mistakes would you say you've made along the way, and what did you learn from them?
And are continuing to make, I suspect, with your new you know, your
Yeah.
traveling
So
side?
pricing, software choices. We've invested in a lot of softwares and then found out that they're not quite for us. You know, that shiny object, something's launched, somebody's using it. Centre, we use that for a lot. We invested in bringing people down to train the whole team and other fellow accountants in it, and then it wasn't for us. And with the changes they made, it didn't work. Receipt capture software, we've been invested in one for many, many years, and in actual fact, it's not financially competitive with other ones, so we have to review that consistently. And we're doing these reviews more and more regularly, whereas before we would just continue on. And staffing. There's been times where we've given staff a lot of trust and a lot of openness and said, right, go and do the job. You're qualified to do this role, believing that, and I'm thinking that it was in place. And this is where developing our processes have come to the point that in actual fact, and there's fellow accountants out there who were at a conference that I was at, and we were having this conversation, that I would go in and correct their transactions if they were roundings out by a penny, because it would get to me so much. And that was a massive waste of my time. But I felt I needed to do that to get the business back on track because of what had happened back in 2019, 2020, and the like kind of wheels coming off the bus kind of thing, where I didn't have the mental capacity to deal with stuff. So stuff was happening. I wasn't picking it up till it was 6-12 months down the line. And that was too late then. That was then costing me thousands in my time to rectify issues that had been done that I hadn't picked up on sooner, which is why I'm very much we touch base, we look in, we review. Even non-VAT clients have a quarterly review, because then we can pick up issues that have arisen there and then, not 12 months later. So picking up those issues.
Yeah, I can hear everybody screaming at me who know you to find out a bit more about, you know, we're talking about living your dreams, and I think everybody can say that, and you know, it kind of becomes a bit generic, but you really are. Now, we don't need to talk about where you're traveling to, although it sounds amazing and you've got your new truck and everything. For me, it's about how do you cope with your life and how do you build your business for that to be able to happen. And you know, you've got kids and all of that, so I'm sure people would be absolutely fascinated to understand what you've put in place and how you're going to deal with that, the warts
This
and
all
all.
comes back this comes back to having a great team. So having rebuilt our team from scratch, Stacey is my pillar. She's like my right hand woman. She's there by me. It doesn't matter whether I'm having a crap day, whether I'm not contactable that day because I'm out like cycling Land's End to John O'Groats. We learned a lot of stuff during that period. We were on the road 75 days, and that let us see what we can and can't do and what we needed to change. That payroll, I was doing payroll on the side of the road. I'm stuck in the middle of the Scottish mountains with the best internet we've got, on the side of the road, my laptop out, on top of my trailer, typing away, doing the payroll. But the team would get asked a question and it might take the whole day for me to get back to them. So we were like, no, we need to outsource payroll. So we now use Nicola across at Virtual Accounts and Payroll to do all of our payroll. So she looks after it. So in actual fact, there's not that hold up within the team. I was the bottleneck, and I still continue to be the bottleneck at times, depending on what activities we're doing. Having a team that have confidence in themselves, so allowing them to make decisions and come and tell you what the decision is they've made, but let them make the changes that they need to. So Stacey was working very closely with Carenza, who unfortunately is leaving us at the end of the month, but she was a massive change in our business and helping us implement systems, implement automation spreadsheets and setting them all up, that in actual fact, those foundations that she's helped us put in place will help us move to the next level. What we also learned is internet. You cannot rely on the internet anywhere. As much as our phones have got internet, we were in the middle of Manchester and I couldn't do any work because I couldn't get signal, which is quite shocking. But in the middle of the Highlands in Scotland, I could. Timing, like make sure that you're doing the role that doesn't involve you 9 till 5, that it doesn't matter if you get up at 6 and work till 10, then you spend the day with the family and then you do a couple of hours in the evening. We touched on it earlier regarding time zones. I have spent 3 weeks in Spain over Christmas. I did work during those 3 weeks, but that was so that when we come back in January, the team were already having the time to be able to continue with the work that they were doing, and they weren't going to come back to 200 odd emails. So doing little things like picking up the small admin tasks that just help make your team's life easier. Also rewarding your team. So that's something I'm very aware of, is that the team see me out gallivanting wherever I am, whether it be on a bike, whether it be on a plane, whether it be on my feet. And they're in the office doing the work. So I'm always a voucher here, a spa day, or a treat, or a training session followed by a spa day, something to make them realise as well that they are an important part of the team. And every podcast I'm on, every talk that I do, every person I speak to, they say, how do you do it? I do it because of my team, because without my team, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's not just me. I'm not just Celtic Bookkeeping. It's not just me and Stacey. It's me, Stacey, and the whole of our team that work in the office, that work in other parts of the country, and all of our subcontractors as well. Because without all of the support, the collaboration, the working together, it wouldn't work. So don't be afraid to ask for outside help. You don't have to do everything. If you doing everything is stopping you from being able to do what you want to do, look at bringing somebody else in and work with them. Have the conversation about pricing, so that when you're doing your pricing, you're allowing for it and you're still making a small profit. It doesn't have to be a massive one. All the little ones add up. But if it takes that job out of your hand, you don't become the bottleneck. You don't have to employ a team. I was going to say, you don't have to employ a team. You can subcontract, so that if work goes up and down, you've got that flexibility. So build a team to work the way you want to. And if you just want to do it by yourself, that's absolutely fine. There is no right or wrong decision. What it needs to do is give you the lifestyle and the life that you want, not what somebody else says you should have.
100%. I'm totally with you on all that. If I can just, take us back to the practice. I imagine you have relationships with lots of your clients' accountants, or does Celtic Bookkeeping do the year-end tax returns and get them filed by 31st of Jan? And assuming you've got relationships with accountants, how did you build those relationships?
So we have relationships with multiple accountants. We have some big clients who we just do all of the bookkeeping, the forecasting, cash flow and things for them. And then the accountant takes all the paperwork and does the year end. We have other accountants who we chat to on a regular basis and we work hand in hand with. And a lot of that has been through word of mouth, or clients wanting us to do the bookkeeping and then passing, and then us working with the accountants. But we work closely with some accountants, and then with other accountants we don't. Like in everything, there's good and bad. So some people see us as competition, some people see us as collaborators. So it's about trying to build that relationship, so they realise we're not in competition with them. We just want to give our client the best. And most of it comes from word of mouth. So if the client's coming to me as a bookkeeper, rather than wanting to use them in-house, we'll go to them and we'll contact the accountant and say, we're now working with this, what do you want from us? And that just kind of helps break down that barrier. And
so do you, that's very clear. And do you have many clients where you're doing the year-end tax returns, or is that always left to the accountant?
Probably about 25% of our clients we do the year-end work for. But for some of that, we actually subcontract it out. So we have a local accountant in Cornwall who we work very closely with. Forth Accountancy, we work very closely with them. She's Claire at Forth is amazing. She does tax advice and everything. So our more complex work, we get her to do it. Because for me, that's a choice of getting her to do that work rather than me having to do the next qualification.
Yeah.
So I don't need to know it all. I just need to know somebody that does know it all.
Fantastic. That's
great.
Wonderful.
It really is. Well, I guess is any other questions, Mark? Because we're getting close to our 30. I mean, I think that the last thing is.
Philippa, what I would say is we could continue talking for another half an hour and still just scratch the surface of Leanda's amazing style and approach. But sadly, we have to conclude.
Yeah, definitely. Just tell the audience where you're going in the next few months, just quickly, so we can get a flavour.
So, well, in the next few months, I'll be stuck in Cornwall because we're building the truck. However, if when the truck's built, we're hoping to do a trip to Scotland and then Finland to South Africa, eventually heading over to Canada, Alaska, America, and touring New Zealand and Australia over the next 5 to 6 years until the children want to leave.
Yeah, and they'll get to a point where they find it boring and they just want to go out with their mates. But that is truly wonderful. I mean, it really is. And it's really sad that we have to say goodbye to you for now. But hey, you're there, you're somewhere in the ether. And how can people find you, reach you? If you are the bookkeeper and accountant for them, how should they get in touch?
So they should come through our website. If you've got an inquiry for us doing your bookkeeping, celticbookkeeping.co.uk, fill out the inquiry form. You'll get an email back with a diary link. You book an appointment to speak to myself or Stacey. If it's a fellow bookkeeper accountant who wants to connect with me, you'll find me on LinkedIn, you'll find me on Facebook. And if you want to follow our family adventures on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, look for Aventer Telu, which I'll put a comment underneath of how you spell that. And you can keep up to date with our fire truck conversion and our travels.
That's absolutely awesome. Thank you for that. Philippa, how can listeners find out more about you and your business, Insight 101?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can go to my website as well, www.insight101.co.uk, and you can put yourself in for a brand discovery session there. And we would be talking about what makes you unique, or how you can kind of build your strategy a little bit like Leanda. You know, who do you want to serve? How do you want to do that? You know, the overall message, all of that. Sometimes it's not quite as easy as you think to decide where you're going, who you're going, and how you can put that into your marketing. So that's what I do. So Mark, give us a little bit of a flavour of how you can support your clients.
Thank you. Well, I'm Bookmark Lee online everywhere. Bookmark Lee, my business card is a bookmark all on brand. I tend to support accountants, been running their own practice a while, but don't have a co-director or a partner, but feel that they benefit from experienced, non-judgmental sounding board. That's what I tend to get described as more than anything, I think. And clients saying that they value my caring, pragmatic, commercial approach. They always feel better, they tell me, after we've had a chat, no matter how tough things seem to be. Or frankly, how well things are going, because many of my clients are doing well too, with support, encouragement, guidance I give them, both one-to-one mentoring and also through the Sole Practice Club, which is an online group of sole practitioner accountants. And like you, I'm always happy to have an initial conversation with no obligation, expectation, no strings or pushy sales techniques. Please, if you're listening to the podcast, reach out, connect with me and with Philippa on LinkedIn, and follow the podcast pages on LinkedIn and on Facebook too.
Yeah. So just before we go, our thanks go again to the sponsors of this episode, Pinnacle Global Group, your trusted outsourcing partner. Do check out their website and let their CEO, Mayank, know that you heard about Pinnacle Global on the Accountant Success Secrets podcast.
And thanks too to the Tax Advice Network, the easiest way for accountants to reach specialist tax advisors. Remember, there's no charge for using the website findataxadvisor.online, where you can also access and sign up for weekly tax tips aimed solely at general practitioner accountants.
Yep. So if you've enjoyed this episode, and I'm sure you have, because I definitely have, and I'm sure Mark has too, please share the love online, subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or just come back to us directly. Quite a few accountants do. It all helps to broaden the reach of the podcast. If you would like to be interviewed yourself, please get in touch with us. Or if you'd like to hear from somebody else who you think would make a fantastic guest, we're all ears. We'd love to hear about that too.
Absolutely. So for now, though, thank you very much to Philippa. Thanks to our wonderful guest, Leanda Daddow. Until next time on the Accountant Success Secrets podcast, or anywhere else we might meet online or in real life. Bye-bye for now.
Bye for now.